You also better know...
And it's real. But one thing that will never happen on this earth, I swear to you, it will never happen, is that an angel will come down and lean out from heaven and hand it to you. That won't happen.
Well, when it does, it'll be fool's gold.
It will
be iron varieties, which you've got to learn to recognise that too.
Fool's gold, as Walter would say.
You've got to learn to spot the fake.
I'm not ever going to say I've been unlucky in life, because absolutely I haven't. I've been lucky to have the parents I've had. I've been lucky to have the friends I've had. I've been lucky in all kinds of directions. But in the end, the fulfillment, if any, you get out of life, and that varies. Some days you do genuinely feel fulfilled by the things you're doing or the social situations you're in. That comes from certainly not from anything that you can call yourself lucky for. Because in a sense you would never feel fulfilled at something you were given.
Where does the depression come from? I know you've got it.
I would say that's a bit like saying, why is it raining? You know, it's out of my control. It is raining though. That's the thing you have to be so clear about. And it's taken me a very long time to understand it, despite some fine writers, William Starr and various others, writing superbly on the subject of depression. And you kind of think, yeah, but it's different from me, you know? It's so... Yes. If it rains, most people know that doesn't mean they have to build an ark. That the sun will come out tomorrow, as Annie would say, or if not tomorrow, the day after. But if it rains inside your head, almost by definition, that means it's telling you that it's never ever going to be sunny again in your head. That the very nature of depression is that it gives you a sense of the permanent uselessness of your life.
There's not a mechanism in your head that's saying, well, this has been over before, it'll be over again.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
This thing about depression being so total, so childlike, it ties up with my own theory about impulses in the mind. I don't know what my theory is worth, but I do know, I'm fairly sure that there's one creative impulse. It's as powerful and strong and simple as it is in a child, but it applies to everything.
But I've never had anyone interested in the odd thing that we have, as far as I know, above all other animals, which is this capacity for wonder. Yes. That the world we're built in and live in is the only world we will ever know. As far as we can tell, animals take it for granted, more or less.
They don't care.
They don't care.
And machines don't care.
They certainly don't go, wow, look at that sunset.
Yeah.
But we really do, and yet a sunset's all we know.
In fact, they've been genetically selected not to say, wow, look at that sunset, because if they do that, they're standing still, and that makes them
very often
vulnerable.
Yes, yes. But you know, a lot of animals, tree frogs and things, have plenty of downtime, as you might say, in which to admire the universe. But they appear not to. Yeah. They appear not to be startled by it. We're not only wonder, but we are startled by it, and we're startled by our own creation. I remember the first time I went to New York. And like most people, I stood in one of the great canyons of, you know, the Avenue of the Americas or Fifth Avenue or whatever, and I went, God, look at that. And yet, for 16 years, I'd seen nothing but photographs of this.
Yes.
And actually, if it had been stumpy little strange buildings, half-timbered German buildings, like, you know, the old town of Mainz or something, then I should have gone, wow, I thought it was going to be all tall. Yeah. It was exactly what I knew it would be, but it amazed me. And the landscape is exactly what I know it's going to be, but it amazes me. And beauty is exactly sort of what I know it's going to be, but it amazes me. I find the very fact that I find things wonderful, I find wonderful.
Have you got a project coming up where you cross America by some means of transport? I was reading about it fleetingly. Someone's crossing America on Highway 66. Stephen Fry.
It is. I've always had a fascination for America, and one of the things that really interests me about it is not the America that I get to see most of the time. That's to say Los Angeles and New York, where I had an apartment for some years, and San Francisco and Chicago, but the bits in between. And
which the Americans who live in New York and Los Angeles, I've heard them call it the flyover.
The flyover, exactly. That's right. They do. They have other strange words like boondocks and things that they use.
So you haven't actually done...
No, I'm starting in October. I'm going to visit every single one of the 50 states.
Really?
Yeah, every one. Because that really, America is...
That's Hawaii and Alaska.
It's called the United States of America, and how united they are.
One of the things that makes it ungovernable, it's too big.
Exactly. And one of the things that makes it not what you see on either drama or on the news is that someone living in Oregon is an Oregonian, much more than they are an American, really.
And full of people who are quite likely to vote the other way from you and your friends.
Again, it's one of the paradoxes of America. They're so much more old-fashioned than we are. We're a very Republican place, England. We believe in the, we believe in the sovereignty of our own self and our own opinion. We have a John Bull sort of, or if it's more benign, a Pickwickian sense of, I'm as good as the next chap, and the next chap's as good as me, and we're all equal. It's a very British way of looking at things. America has a class system, and they believe in the primacy of money and of hierarchies, and they actually believe in believing in things, which we don't. Yeah. We're very sceptical people. If you wanted to define the English character in a more intellectual way, I would say we are an empirical people. Yes. Our greatest gift to Europe and to the intellectual thrust of the last 400 or 500 years has been empiricism. It's how Newton beat Pascal, if you like, how he was right. Yeah. The French are rationalists. We're not. And we distrust rationalism and superstition as being two wings of the same heresy.
And that's why we've got an established church in which nobody believes.
Exactly. Because we don't believe in things because we test things.
But you still want an established church.
We still want it.
Somewhere to go to get married, somewhere to go when you croak.
Yeah. In America, they really have a religious idea about liberty. They believe it to be a thing that I still don't understand, and it's one of the things I want to understand on this tour.
Well, there's such a thing as fetishizing it. There's an article in the Constitution that fetishizes the right to bear arms.
I think we have, as I say, this rather more, test it. Does that work or doesn't it? Whereas to them, everything stands or falls, firstly, by the Constitution, and the Constitution pushes liberty up very high. So freedom of speech becomes more important than justice, which to us is preposterous. Because for us, being just to people is the first end, if you like, of a state, is for it to be a just state. And anyway, not for it to be a free state, but a just state. And freedom is quite a good way of getting there.
And anyway, freedom of speech is a concept, and justice is concrete.
Exactly. That's where empiricism, and in a sense, that part of the Greeks that was empirical, even the earliest philosophers, Zeno, the ones they call the pre-Socratic still.
Zeno was the paradox man, wasn't he?
If you remember, one of Zeno's paradoxes also was the paradox of the heap, the beans. Yeah. He handed a bean to one of his students and said, "Is that a heap?" And his student said, "No, no." He put another one there and said, "Is that a heap?" And he said, "No, that's not a heap." And he added another one and said, "Is that a heap?" No. And eventually, of course, kept adding a bean, and the bean said, "Yeah, that's a heap." He said, so a heap is 23. And the student thought, that can't really be right, can it? If I take one away, it's no longer a heap. If I add one, it is a heap. But we constantly have this. We have it with ages of consent, with abortion. Yes. These are things. Take one day, it's murder. Add a day. Take one day away, it's before their 16th birthday, it's child abuse. Add a day, that 16-year-old is an abuser. Yeah. Does that make sense? Ethics is very much to do with empiricism in that sense of actually testing it. And the right to bear arms is a good example. So where do you stop? What counts as arms? Even the most zealous interpreter of the Constitution wouldn't count a nuclear weapon as arms, but it's arms. But you're not you stop where?
We've got to stop, but I hope it's only a matter of days before we start again. Stephen Fry, thank you very much.
Thank you, Clive.